Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another pressing video. I didn't actually plan to do two so close to each other. I have recently showed you how I press my pigments, especially my Tamitanuka pigments that I bought, and that was a nice video, more of a DIY sort of thing, and it applies to a lot of pigments that you may have. Today's video was actually prompted by a disaster that happened. I dropped a palette of baked face powders. I had recently purchased the Becca Khloe Kardashian collaboration, and this is the light palette, and yeah, I dropped it and it broke. So you can see this one usually has a domed cubes, squares, and what happened is all the domed part broke and I was left with a lot of mess and these products quite flat. What I thought was, well, let's try to repress it. I know that usually baked powders don't press well because they're baked, but it really depends on the formula and who made it. That was maybe true in the past, and I said, well, what else can happen? I'm either gonna throw it away, all that product, or I'm gonna try to repress it. So I decided to film myself repressing these powders and trying to salvage it. In this video you will see me go through the whole process for these products. I had tested one or two before pressing them on camera, and I was actually quite worried for the bronzer because that's not a shimmer. Usually shimmers repress nicer and easier than mattes. However, I can already tell you that it was a great success, and at the end of the video you will see me apply my pressed versions and my palette on two different sides of my face, and you can already stop and check now if you can see any difference. I don't think so. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe to not miss any more of these fun little videos. From a disaster, good can come out, or if life gives you lemon, just make a lemonade. Just more cliche things. And if you're curious about this eye look, the Get Ready With Me has already gone up for it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into pressing my baked face powders. We are starting just like when pressing from scratch, just with a setup. I have the palette here, as you can see. This used to be nice and baked, and I cleaned it up and I put the powders in these little bags. These are the same bags that I used to press my pigments, and it makes it just very easy to manage the powder and crumble it. Here you can see I have the two blushes already pressed. I had to test press them, of course, before I showed you, and I told you this was the way to do it, of course. So we start. I am going to start with the highlighter. You can see it here. It was in big chunks, and what I'm going to do is actually just mixy and crumble it down to the most fine powder that I can. And this is much easier to do in a little pouch than in a cup or something, because you can really feel under your fingers how the powder is, and you can see that now it's just a fine powder. Because this was already a pressed powder, I am not going to add any binder here, and that is the main difference between using a product that was already pressed versus a product that was born to be loose. So this one here already has binder, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add alcohol. This is isopropanol alcohol. I am using 95%, I think, or 99, and I'm just going to add a little and mix in the powder, and add only just enough so that all the powder sticks together. I don't want to make it a slurry. I don't want to make it too loose. It shouldn't be powder anymore because otherwise it will not press, but it should also not be a liquid. So you mix it in a little. It already starts to clump, and then I am going to check how the situation is and whether I have powder or something else. I'm gonna zoom you guys in. Maybe this will help. And I'm looking in here, and this looks still quite powdery, so I am going to add a little bit more alcohol. I have to say I was quite skeptical to do this with a baked powder, because baked powders have a different ingredient formation compared to regular pressed powders. They are usually formed into their shape and then baked in a heat oven, so it's a little bit different. They don't really work per evaporation, but more by sintering. So I was actually surprised that I could do this, and very happy that I could. Now this feels quite nice and compact, and if I look inside, there is almost no powder left. I am going to take a 36 millimeter, no, I'm going to take a 36 millimeter pan. These are also from TKB Trading, and start pressing the mix into the pan. Looking at it like this, I see that it is still quite dry, so I'm gonna add a little bit more alcohol. Now you can see in here the powder has stuck to the sides of my bag, and that is because it is much more wet and clay now. So I will scrape as much as I can with the spatula and then just cut through the bag. As you can see now, the texture of the powder is very clay-like. It is quite a compact, putty type of a texture, and it is very easy to press down. This is quite a different texture than if you press pigments or regular eyeshadows. So there is a difference here for sure compared between pressed and baked products, but I don't find that this has an effect in the final pressing. Now with my scissors I will cut through the bag and retrieve all the product that is in it, because there is a lot. Now that I have collected my powder and pressed it in, I will take, as usual, my dirty ribbon and press the powder. Now, because there is still alcohol in there, I am overlapping the tissue so that it will absorb the alcohol. And then find with my little tool, which is a specific one, same as the 26 millimeter, but this is now 36 millimeter. And then I will just press the product. You can see here on the side the alcohol seeping out, and that's exactly what we want. And you can see that here I didn't do a great job at pressing, so let me try again. Usually I stand up and put my whole weight on it. So this is a bit different. There we go, and we have a pressed pan. This will now sit on my desk for a little bit so that all the alcohol left over in there can evaporate. And here we have 3 of the pans, and now I am going to do the same thing with the bronzer, which I hope will work because this is quite a satiny bronzer. Usually I don't press matte things, so I hope this will work. Now, swatching from the palette, it's quite a smooth but a little bit satin bronzer. I hope this will work and I will not ruin all of this powder. This one definitely felt a bit different than the others when pressing. Now you can see there's a bit of glitter from the ribbon, but overall this is quite a smooth clay-like effect. I can still pick up stuff on my hand and it still transfers, but we will see after it dries out if I can pick it up with a brush. This is the one I'm least convinced about. I will be back with comparison swatches in a little bit.
3 days later.
I am going to do one side of my face with the original Becca, Khloe and Malika palette that I dropped. You can see I'm missing the little heart that goes here, but I'll glue it back in eventually. And what happened is I dropped this on the floor and the domed part of this broke, so yeah. I have on this other side, I will use the pressed versions that you just saw me press, and we're gonna see if they perform the same way. I'm very curious. I am gonna use the same brushes, but that's okay. I'm gonna start with the bronzer of the original formula. It's extremely powdery. It picks up a lot on the brush. But it is quite beautiful, isn't it? On the other side, I'll take the pressed version, and there's definitely less product coming on here, but I'm still getting quite a nice transfer, I would say. Yeah, it looks quite similar to me. Now let's try the highlight again on this side. Ooh. A lot comes off because it's a bit still broken on the top. I don't know if maybe I should drop some alcohol on the top of this as well and just let it sit or resettle itself. I have blown on it, I have tapped it against the trash, but that still hasn't come up. The highlighter is beautiful, not super metallic, but it's actually very, very sheeny. I like it. It reminds me a lot of the what do you call it, the Hourglass, and that was also why I bought this. It's like much cheaper than the Hourglass palettes, but same effect. And on this side, it actually looks way more metallic than on the other side, the pressed one. Still beautiful. Now for blush, I don't know, I'm gonna use them both. And I'm gonna try to use the lighter one on the higher top of the part of the cheek and the darker one underneath. So let me try this if it works. This is the pressed one. Oh, so beautiful. I love these very sheeny blushes. Beautiful. And then the palette, I'm really just pressing very gently because I think the pickup is a lot. And then we'll try with the lighter one on top and maybe just concentrating it on the higher part a little bit more. I don't think you can actually see what I did there. It maybe adds a little bit more sheen, but not much more. Okay, so here we have it. I think you can say that this pressing action has saved my product, and I can safely now, I guess, travel with these. And I have the same effect as the Becca palette, but a little bit more safe and less traumatic to use. I wanted to buy this palette to travel in September for my holidays to Spain, but I think I will take my pressed versions with me. They seem a little bit more sturdy because they were pressed instead of just baked. But as you can see, the effect is the same and the products are all picking up nicely. Here we go. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have to press your baked face powders or eyeshadows, don't hesitate, don't add binder, just add alcohol, and I'm pretty sure it will all work out fine. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you're curious about this eye look, it's in my latest Get Ready With Me, so go check that one out, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!